Hi everyone, I'm Isabel and I'm originally from Singapore. I'm a content creator at Bell Around the World and I do SEO services for clients. Yeah, that's right. So I've been blogging at Bell Around the World for the past 9 years now and have been traveling full-time for the past 6. I started it when I did a student exchange during my university. So then I went to Europe, bought my one-way ticket, first time traveling solo in all the way to Europe. So then that really sparked my love for travel, and I knew that I wanted to do it more and more, and I couldn't just be stuck in the office the rest of my life. So I started this blog kind of to document my travels and to share my itineraries that I had researched throughout my journey. So that's how the blog was born. And then I remember I bought my friends got me this DSLR camera for my 21st birthday, and I was just super excited to document everything. So that's how the blogging started, and because it was my pet project, I really invested a lot in it and I really wanted to grow it. And I've seen so many other bloggers back then. This was in 2015. Who were not a lot of them, but some of them have been able to do this full time and travel the world and be paid to explore and promote destinations. I knew that was what I wanted to do. And so I was just slowly working my way up, learning different digital marketing strategies, learning how to grow on social media and all of that. The rest is history. So yeah, it's 2024 now. I've been doing it. This is going to be my 10th year, so it's quite crazy. First country was France. So I was going to do my semester in France. But there was just kind of a stopping point. Every time I would cram all of my studies into 3 days, and then the rest of the 4 days I would be traveling around Europe. I would say one of my pivoting points was quitting everything, leaving my old life behind, and then doing a working holiday in New Zealand. That really was quite life-changing for me because I came from a small city, lots of people, very populated, very cosmopolitan, to a small town in Fox Glacier, south of New Zealand. And I had to, the scariest thing for me was because the supermarket, the biggest supermarket, was going to be 3 hours drive away. So I'm like, oh no, am I going to be able to find food? And in Singapore, it's I can just find food downstairs and there'll be 20 stalls waiting for me to buy food from. So that was a bit scary. But then embracing that unknown and embracing that unpredictability and getting out of my comfort zone, I realized was really fulfilling. It's quite addictive actually. It really pushes you with personal development. And so I learned that I really liked the rural, the countryside life, slowing life down. People are more warm and friendly. When you bump into strangers on the street, people will come and strike a conversation with you. So that was really nice. Yeah, so the key, I'm definitely someone who has experienced travel burnout, because I remember there'll be 1 year where I was just traveling all the time, and the longest time I was home in Singapore was 2 weeks, and the shortest time was just one night where I unpacked my bags and then packed and then flew off again. So that was quite hectic. And over the years, the longer I traveled, the more I craved that kind of stability and routine. And so the pandemic actually helped me quite a bit because, with the border restrictions and all of that, we were forced to slow down to travel. And that brought me a new form of travel, which is slow travel. I would stay in Mexico for 6 months. I would be pet sitting in Bolivia for 3 months. So I actually had proper routine and stability. I was taking care of pets. So that actually made me feel at home away from home. And I've learned to embrace that. And it's also the reason why I would always recommend staying in one place for a minimum of 2 months, and why I keep coming back to Bali. I would say if you are starting out digital nomading for the first time, it can be quite scary. I've had a few people reach out to me. They're like, oh, how do you get started? How is it scary, especially for Asian women traveling alone? How do you deal with that? I would always say to pick places where, one, financially you're comfortable living in, and then two, pick places where it's already established, that already has an established digital nomad community, so it's easier for you to make friends. I used to be quite an introvert, so like I would be like super shy to go into groups, like networking groups or social groups. So the thing I like about digital nomad communities is that everyone's very welcoming, everyone's very friendly. You can go into a room of digital nomads and people will start talking to you. So then it makes the whole like shyness a bit less scary. Yeah, these are the two tips I would say to get started with. I always recommend, so when you're talking about finances as a digital nomad, it's always about input and output, right? So as long as your input outweighs your output, you can be comfortable. And there are so many places that are very affordable. For me, I started off being around Central and South America. So like the first place I ever rented monthly was in Mexico. It was like 300 USD per month for 2 bedrooms. That is insanely cheap. And I was staying with someone, so it was splitting the cost. There are various ways you can go on a budget, right? Like for example, the classic ways are to cook your own meals, to ride public transport, things like that. So you can look for places that are more affordable, and instead of living in first world countries like Lisbon, it could be more expensive. Madeira can be a bit expensive. So I would first start with like rent is gonna be the first bulk purchase that you will have to look at. So yeah, which areas can you rent for a reasonable amount? And like in terms of rent, I can go all the way. There are so many different ways to rent cheaply as well. Instead of going on Airbnb or Booking.com, go direct to the source. Look for local hosts to barter with, to negotiate, and that would bring your rent down significantly. So yeah, little tips and tricks like that to bring down the cost. And then of course, as a digital nomad, you would have to have a remote job. So to start this off, I usually look at what your skills are, what you like to do, what are you comfortable doing. If you are starting from scratch, you could also kind of like be an apprentice for a bigger brand, bigger company. If you already have specialized skills, like there are a lot of nomads here that are programmers, developers, all of these are remote jobs. You can almost make a job remote. Like I've seen nurses and physiotherapists that are working remotely, as in like they might look for a job. They are like traveling occupation. They are like working while traveling, so they can always find a job or a gig when they're overseas for a period of time. Even like photographers and videographers, it's very easy to find jobs overseas. So I started off as a travel blogger, right? So as a travel blogger, you need to be able to write content, and the whole aim of having a blog is to grow my audience, because with a bigger audience, a more engaged audience, brands are more willing to work for you. But apart from like working with brands as a content creator, so that's one way of working with brands. Apart from that, by creating content online, I've learned a lot of digital marketing skills. So you can also use your skills as a service for other brands. So for example, if let's say you like taking photos, maybe you want to sell your photography as a service, or you want to sell your photos. There are just different ways. So for me, I learned about content marketing. I learned about SEO, which is search engine optimization. If you were to search like best massages in Bangkok, Thailand, you can see me on the first page. And so that's how people find out about me, and they realize that, oh, okay, she's good at this. And then they reach out and want to work with me. So now I help other clients to rank their pages on top of Google. And also I started teaching about SEO, so to equip other people. There are a lot of startups here, so if you're trying to start your own brand, maybe you're thinking, okay, maybe I should start an Instagram channel. How do I grow my Instagram? So I've got experience in that. And then like, oh, okay, I've got a website now. How do I get on top of Google when people are searching best massages in Bali, for example? So yeah, using different skills to leverage and then promote it as a service. Maybe you can think of different side products. So some of the products I do besides servicing clients are like teaching people, coaching people on digital marketing, on lifestyle freedom, which is a big thing I like to do. So there's so many different various streams of income as long as you're creative. I do get stuck in a rut sometimes, so speaking to people helps. Speaking to different nomads, hearing what they're doing, it can sometimes like take you outside of your own bubble and generate more ideas for you to earn an income online. I would say yes, it's bound to happen. When you're traveling alone, you're exposing yourself outside of your comfort zone. You can't predict everything. You know, the plane might delay, you might get into an accident. All of these things are outside of your control. One of the latest things that happened to me 1 year ago was how I was walking on the Canggu shortcut, and there was a big pothole, and it was 10 p.m. at night, and I fell into the hole. So I got quite injured. Like there was blood dripping down my knee. I had to go to the doctors immediately. It was supposed to, okay, so then I got stitched up. I thought that was simple, but it got more complicated than that. So because of that, I had to go back to Singapore and spend a couple months back there to recover. But apart from that, so these are accidents that you cannot plan. I've also had crazy stories like getting kicked out of the US, especially because, so this was because I was a single female Asian traveler, and I was visiting the US quite a bit to visit friends, and also during the pandemic. And I think that's maybe why they flagged out. They were like, oh, are you what are you doing in the US? Are you working on your tourist visa? So they were trying to suss out a lot of that, and eventually they decided that my reasons, they didn't really understand what I was doing, like working online and stuff. And so in the end, they kicked me back out of it. Things like that. And also, I had been burglared in the Dominican Republic in my Airbnb before. I've got like all these sorts of crazy stories, and you can find it all on my blog or my YouTube channel. It's quite interesting. It's good to let people be aware of it also. So I like to share about it. Yeah, it helps to have local friends, so then you feel less alone. It helps to have people that I was very fortunate. I have family that I can always fall back on. So when I got injured, I can always go home and recover. When I got kicked out of the US, I had my US friends who were, trying their best to help me. And when they kicked me back to Costa Rica, I had made a Costa Rican friend. So at least when I went back, I wasn't totally alone, and it helps to have somebody to talk to about it and stuff. I have a few favorite places I have in my mind, and one of it is Cape Town in South Africa. So I did a month-long South Africa trip from Johannesburg to Cape Town, and Cape Town was my last spot, and I really liked it there because it has a mix of the city, like you have the farmers markets, you have, I think, also a thriving digital nomad community. And then it has the mountains, and then it has the ocean, so it has a bit of everything. And then it's also a short drive away from like the wine country of South Africa, so it's quite a peaceful place. I feel that I've always wanted to go back to, but Bali comes to a close second. And I've been living here as a digital nomad for about like 5 months, which isn't a long time compared to a lot of others here, but I feel like I've got my routine. I've got my gym that I go to, I got my yoga studio that I go to, I've got the massage guy that I always go to. So it's very comfortable here, and that's why I feel like I might be staying here for a bit longer. First thing I like, for sure, is the community, because everyone's from everywhere, and I like that sort of stimulation. Like, there's always something to learn from everyone, and everyone's very friendly. There's also the nature, which is kind of missing in Singapore. There's not so much nature, and I get to surf if I want, I get to go on road trips if I want. And it's also like, in particular, I like Canggu because everything is close by. As a Singaporean, food is a big part, and so like there's so many different kinds of food here that you today you can want to have Spanish, tomorrow you can want to have Indian. So You never get bored of it. Also, like the working culture is really good here. Very creative, a lot of creative people, content creators like myself, and also like photographers, videographers, creative people to brainstorm. And so that's really motivating for me, because being in Singapore, it's a bit more stifling. People there are more corporate workers. So sometimes if you have that entrepreneurial like brain trying to brainstorm and bounce ideas off, I feel like Bali would be the place to be. Wi-Fi is the main thing, right? And you can literally find Wi-Fi everywhere. If you want somewhere comfortable, there's always, cafes with AC. There's also co-working spaces sprouting out everywhere all the time. So it's really flexible, and it's really encouraging for people who want to work remotely. There's also like a lot of community meetups. So like maybe there's a tech startup meetup, or like a book club. So there's something that caters for everyone in terms of interest, in terms of professional development. And yeah, that's why I keep coming back as well. Yeah, I had this whole plan for traveling for 2024, but I've settled in such a nice routine here that I think I might throw my whole plans away until maybe like there is a conference coming up, or something where I can be more involved in. But otherwise, I feel like my default might be back to Bali. Yeah, I would say connect with people who have already been there and done that. Like same thing for like travel blogging, I always tell them like, talk to people who have been there and done that. Surround yourself with people whom you aspire to be, and then just learn everything from them. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And the hardest part is taking the first step, and you really just have to throw yourself out there. And eventually everything will click. Yeah, thanks for watching. If you are interested to learn more about my travel journey or my life in Bali, you can follow me at bellaroundtheworld.com, and I'm literally on every single social media platform, as well as on YouTube. I do blog about Bali tips and travel tips here and there. And if you have any digital marketing questions as well, feel free to shoot me a question.